Appreciate you tuning in to Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State. We're also live on YouTube and on Facebook, having the crucial conversations that Erie needs. And anytime we get to talk about history, I'm all in. So I want to welcome back to the program here. We've got Pam Parker. She is the project manager of the Hagen History Center. Good to see you, Pam.
Thanks.
And Mark Squeglia from the Hagen History Center. Good to see you, Mark. Welcome back.
Thanks, Joel.
All righty. We've got a big announcement here, really, for this is kind of under the umbrella of America 250, but you guys have really are really creating an immense event. So let's talk about it. Who wants to start here? Pam, why don't you introduce it, right?
Go ahead, intro. Or do you want me to do it?
Oh, you go ahead.
Okay.
So, we're here to talk about Command and Courage, which is an event, a 2-day Oliver Hazard Perry Symposium scheduled for August 13th and August 14th. The reason for the symposium is to educate the public about Oliver Hazard Perry, not specifically or totally or just about the Battle of Lake Erie,
Right.
or his career or his youth or his post-career, but about the man. And we really want to humanize Oliver Hazard Perry and tell people what he was really like. But the whole reason for the symposium and the reason for the education on Oliver Hazard Perry is we're going to be in the midst of construction of a new Oliver Hazard Perry exhibit at the Hagen History Center.
This will be like a permanent exhibit.
Yes.
It'll be a
Wow.
permanent exhibit, and we feel it'll be one of the, if not the best, exhibits on Oliver Hazard Perry in the country.
Wow. That's fantastic. And really, that is saying something, because when you think about it, he's from, Newport, Rhode Island.
Right.
Correct.
Right? He is well known at multiple places in the naval infrastructure, as well as here on Lake Erie, both in Erie and in Sandusky and Put in Bay, right? I mean, their monument, what is it, almost 300 feet tall or something like that?
A lot of monuments, a lot of statues.
A lot of buildings named
Yeah.
for him, a lot of schools.
Highways.
Yeah.
Think about it. I mean, this. Let's open the box a little bit here. Perry in the Navy, is he like a Farragut and a
Well, and that's
and a Nimitz or whatever?
that is one of the other drivers for the symposium and the lectures is Perry's legacy in the U.S. Navy persists to today. If you go down to Annapolis, the Don't Give Up the Ship flag, the original Don't Give Up the Ship flag, is on prominent display in one of the halls. In fact, when CBS did game day for, I believe it might have been the Army-Navy game, the backdrop behind the announcers was the Don't Give Up the Ship flag. So his legacy within the U.S. Navy persists to today. Maybe not as strong as Nimitz because that's more recent.
Right.
But yeah, and we want to understand why does that legacy still persist.
And in his naval career, he really did he have much of a function? Was he I'm trying to make sure I get the right categories here. Would he have been like an ensign or in the Revolutionary War? And
no,
then
he was too young for the
okay.
Revolutionary War. His father was a naval officer.
Okay.
And then he became a midshipman probably around 15, 16 years old. Ended up commanding an ocean-going vessel out of Newport. And then when the War of 1812 came, he unfortunately ran the Regency was the name of the ship that he ran aground, but he was in a storm, and he wasn't given a command of another larger ship on the Atlantic.
Right.
So he actually wrote to the Secretary of the Navy multiple times, kind of bypassing the chain of command to get a command. He wanted a ship, and then he was offered the command of the squadron that was being built and assembled here. Not all the ships were built here in Erie,
Okay.
but he was given that command.
Who did he lobby? Would it have been the Secretary of War at the time?
Secretary of the Navy.
Of the Navy. Okay. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't
I won't
recall his name
I
right
would
now.
be. But I mean, because you think about you think about how they did things back in those days. My understanding is Daniel Dobbins lobbies Madison.
Yes.
Can we have the ships built in Erie? Yeah. We have this protected harbor. And this guy saying, "Hey, I need a command," you know.
Well, the strategy at the time was to clear the Lake Erie of the British fleet that was in Detroit. Mm-hmm. Dobbins was captured in Detroit when the fort in Detroit fell.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
They paroled him. He made his way back to Erie, but he understood that if they did not clear Lake Erie of the British ships, that there would be no way to recapture Detroit. Wow. And Detroit was the key because that supplied the British and everything west of the Great Lakes. Mm-hmm. So the plan was to build the ships at Black Rock in Buffalo. Chauncey and Elliott were both involved. Dobbins somehow makes his way to Madison's office and says, "You really need to build the ships at Presque Isle."
And there were no snack cakes involved by Dolly.
No.
I got to throw in zingers. Get it? Zingers?
I do.
Sorry. You can't. You can only step very lightly to real historians or else they'll get really angry at you. No, just joking. No. Okay, so we're kind of laying the foundation of saying, hey, this guy was important. And the lineup that you have coming to the symposium is kind of like eye-opening, and my eyes really bugged out when I saw some of these names. I'm like, oh, he's that important to bring a Douglas Brinkley to Erie, Pennsylvania. Holy smokes. Tell us about that, Pam.
Well, Douglas Brinkley is the one who has been a real proponent of history in Erie. I think it's what's the museum he wants to have here?
There's an undercurrent of conversation going on about creating a War of 1812 museum.
Wow.
Steve Scully and Brinkley, I think, are the two
that
and Brinkley
are behind the effort.
Nationally, internationally known. So, for him to come and talk about Perry. And I just have to add, from a personal level, when you read about Perry and you see after I've read all of the exhibit panels, it's just, he was just a guy. He was just a kid, but he was a son, he was a father, he was a husband. And it's a great story about him. There were duels, it's the makings of a movie. So Hamilton, step aside.
Right.
But wow. I think that, that is the importance and the fact that we're bringing this here. And the folks, Mark can talk more about the folks who are here, but you look at who's coming. I mean, these are all, Mark didn't have any trouble getting people to come here to pull this together.
Really? Yeah.
Well, it was absolute enjoyable project to work on in contacting these people and telling them what we wanted to do and convincing them, and some I didn't really have to convince to come to Erie. Dr. Matthew C. Perry totally fell into our lap. Somebody from Cambridge Springs who's a friend of his sent us an email saying, I think you need to talk to this guy. And when I first said, hey, we're having a Perry Symposium, a 2-day lecture series, he is a descendant of the family. He's not a direct descendant of Oliver Hazard Perry.
Right.
He's made that perfectly clear to me. But his, Matthew C. Perry, he's kind of the namesake of Matthew Calbreth Perry, who was Oliver's younger brother.
Wow.
And he's going to talk about the Oliver Hazard Perry family early years, growing up, his father, who his key influencers were, who made him the person that he was, or at least try to explain.
What was Perry married when he
Yes.
came to Erie? So did he leave the kids and the family?
I believe he was, and I believe his wife was in Newport. I mean,
Okay.
that's where their home was.
Right. So again, based on some of the reading I've done from local authors, that gig to come to Erie, I mean, this was absolutely the frontier. This was primitive conditions for an aristocrat from Newport, maybe.
True. Not only that, we also want to talk about his leadership.
Yes.
But he exhibited variety of leadership skills, because when he got here and they were beginning to build the Lawrence and the Niagara, the only natural resource that was here that did not have to be brought in was the timber. Everything else had to be, brought in by ship from Buffalo or overland from Pittsburgh, or in some cases Philadelphia. So we're
including
talking
the
about
shipwrights too. I mean, including
shipwrights,
the manpower, right?
Noah Brown, and they both came from New York. A lot of the logistical equipment came from Philly. The cannons and steel came from Pittsburgh. The rigging, the sails, the rope, the nails. I mean, the only thing that was here was the trees along the bay, basically.
Right.
And Erie was, maybe a handful of homes.
Yeah.
Along Mill Creek. So, building of the squadron contributed to the growth of Erie because it brought in a number of people.
Yeah, it was almost like like the modern day. You go to one of these base towns, a Columbus, Georgia. I mean, it just blows up because you happen to have a military installation there. Watertown, Fort Drum, and so on. We're talking about this upcoming symposium. It's quite the undertaking by the Jefferson folks here, and we are going to have it coming up in August during the time of Celebrate Erie. We've got to take our break. It's 4:19. Stay with us. Our friends from the Hagen History Center conducting the symposium. It's called Command and Courage, the Oliver Hazard Perry, and the new permanent exhibit at the History Center there on 6th Street too. When are you planning on opening the exhibit, you think, Pam?
It'll open on the 14th, August
14th.
We are actually, this is a good talking point for me to bring up. This will be the last weekend that folks will be able to see the Erie Extension Canal exhibit, because that is where Perry's going to be. It's not leaving permanently. Mm-hmm. It is just going to be moved, and we don't know exactly where. So we're taking that down maybe next week, and probably pieces at a time, but if people come in, we won't be able to let them see it.
Are you still working on the first floor too? Some of the Frank Lloyd Wright stuff, or?
Oh yeah.
Is that going to be done this summer or not really?
Oh yeah, it'll be done. June 27th, we open that up.
Okay.
So to the public.
So we'll have the retrofit.
Everything is going to be
summer.
New when people come in. They're not going to recognize pretty much the entrances. I mean, it's the welcome gallery. It's everything. It's just going to be. It's really incredible. I mean, we've watched for 6 months. We've been watching construction take place, and Cal started this whole thing 2 years ago, and I was involved with what panels are going to be where. And you look at this stuff and it's voluminous, and then all of a sudden it's really coming together, and we walk around and I'm like, it really looks like what they said it would.
Wow.
So but yes, we the big thing is it'll be getting worked on pretty quickly here, the Perry exhibit.
Yeah, people should understand that at the Hagen History Center there are these permanent exhibits, and they do kind of rotate maybe every 5 or so years, or they get changed. Then there's not the pop-ups, but they're kind of more temporary exhibits.
Temporary
and so
exhibits,
I give a shout out to the Polish American exhibit.
Yeah, now
that was
that's
fantastic.
Done. Yeah,
it's done.
Yeah,
but
that
boy, there was a lot of interest in that.
Yes, there was, and that's in the same
Bobby
building.
Selecki. Yeah. In
the Wood Morrison.
In the Wood
house,
Morrison.
yes.
Okay.
But this will be first floor. Like I said, it would be the door that you walk in, and actually people will be able to enter from the front doors, which they've never been able to do before. Oh. So we're changing it up left and right.
Okay. Wow. And are you still keeping, at least on the first floor, kind of the theme of military history?
Oh, yeah. Nearly everything will stay the same that would be south of where the Perry exhibit will be. Mm-hmm. Perry exhibit is the northernmost part of that building, and then the rest. It's being freshened up, though. Everything in there is getting a little refresher. Nice. Some things, local things, a lot of the local things that are in there, we're going to be updating a little bit here and there, but everything gets updated a little bit.
Mark, we're kind of talking about Oliver Hazard Perry and his place in the firmament, if you will, of the United States Navy. Is it Perry and the War of 1812, or the Battle of Lake Erie, I should say, that really establishes, quote, Erie as the mother-in-law of the Navy?
No, not the mother-in-law of the Navy at that time, but it was the subsequent Navy presence here, the Wolverine, which was a training ship. So young midshipmen came and got posted here. And
so this would be after Annapolis or whatever?
This is late after the War of 1812.
Okay,
I'm talking the late 1800s, early 1900s.
Oh, wow.
That the Wolverine, I don't know the exact dates that the Wolverine was launched, but it was the first iron hull ship on the Great Lakes, and it was posted here. It was a training vessel, so you had a lot of young midshipmen coming through this town doing their training on the Wolverine. But what they ended up doing was meeting young Erie girls and getting married. Mm-hmm. Thus, the moniker Erie is the mother-in-law of the U.S. Navy.
And so if you go to the library, you go to the Admiral's room, you see all the Erie Admirals. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it.
But, Perry's legacy in the U.S. Navy, continues to today, like I said earlier. But so much so that they named a class of guided missile frigates
100%.
for him during the 1970s. And there were 51 Oliver Hazard Perry class guided missile frigates that were launched. The Halliburton was the one that the Oliver Hazard Perry shipyard was trying to acquire from the Navy.
Right.
The reason why we wanted the Halliburton, or we wanted an Oliver Hazard Perry class, is that totally fits our Bayfront, right?
Right.
And not size-wise.
Yeah.
I'm talking name-wise, right?
Sure,
it's a
yeah.
Perry class frigate. Unfortunately, the Perry, which was a ship in that class, was decommissioned and then destroyed.
Oh, okay.
Prior to us submitting an application.
The, did we have lots of barracks and, would we be going to the taverns and you'd see lots of sailors in uniform?
I would think so, yes.
That's
they
wild.
would walk up State Street, and they would frequent the bars on the lower State and the restaurants, and when they were posted on the Wolverine. And,
Sure.
Prior to that, during Perry's time, I believe one of the forts was still on the lower Bayfront towards the east side, because the militia from Meadville, and David Meade, who was the commander of the militia in Meadville, Perry requested him to come up to protect the ships that they were trying to build, because there was fear that the British would land either on Presque Isle or on a shoreline east or west of the bay and come in and set fire to the ships that were being built, because there was no protection.
So for the symposium, the idea is to talk about Perry the man. But do you think that you'll get into the battle at all?
Oh, yeah, you definitely have to look at the different aspects of his career. So after Dr. Matt Perry talks about his early life and the beginnings of his naval career, Walter Ripka, who is a familiar name to everybody in Erie, is going to speak about Perry's appointment to the command of Lake Erie. Similar to what we talked about earlier, he petitions the Secretary of the Navy for a command, any command, and he's offered the command on Lake Erie. He gets here in February, and he begins to engage in finishing the building of the two ships, the Lawrence and the Niagara.
So February to September, and they're fighting in September.
They're fighting in September.
And that was pretty green wood, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was. It was absolutely green wood.
This was not an easy task, Mark.
Right. So what we want Walter to speak on is, what was Perry's relationship with Dobbins? What was his relationship with Noah Brown? Yeah. Did Perry walk in on day one and say, I'm in charge here, you guys got to do everything I say?
Right.
Or was he more collaborative? And, again, another leadership aspect of Oliver Hazard Perry.
I love that you're leaning in on his leadership. Again, we're talking about Command and Courage, Oliver Hazard Perry Symposium and exhibit coming in August from the Hagen History Center, and it's going to be at Gannon. We'll talk more about it after the news. Chuck Erie and the Joel Natale Show, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State, also live on YouTube and Facebook. We're talking to Pam Parker and Mark Squeglia from the Hagen History Center, the upcoming Command and Courage Oliver Hazard Perry Symposium. And we really need to get to why we're talking about an August event now. It's because you have to register now.
Right, and the sign up is easy. You can go on our website, hit the events button, and we have quite a few registrations already. So we're already, I don't know, we're getting to be halfway there, and I think we have to figure out. Well, we've got to figure out how many people we can actually hold at the Gannon Yale Ballroom.
You're having it at the Yale Ballroom.
Right.
What's the cost for the symposium?
$10 if you're a member of the Hagen History Center, and $20 if you are a non-member, which
crazy affordable.
You're not kidding. And we kept it that way because we want people to come. And teachers are free. Actually, they have to. They have a very special place that they register, and they get 7 credit hours.
7 credit hours from the IU for Act 48.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
cool.
doesn't get any better than this.
Sure. Wow. Let's go through some more of the folks that are presenting here. You mentioned Matthew Perry, who is a family descendant, is going to talk about the early life, and Walter Ripka, the appointment to command. Who's next in this?
So next is Professor Craig Simmons, who's a retired professor, taught at the U.S. Naval Academy for years. And then when he retired and became a civilian, he taught at the Naval War College.
Wow.
And he's a prolific author. He's written a number of books on U.S. Navy. He wrote one book, The 5 Most Important Naval Battles in U.S. Naval History. And the first battle that he reviews is the Battle of Lake Erie.
Wow. Were there any specific maneuvers that are textbook that happened in the Battle of Lake Erie?
I don't know about textbook, but for Perry to being on the Lawrence, that was absolutely decimated because it was the sole target of the British line of ships, to jump in a rowboat and head to the Niagara. And he may have been able to get in there by himself, but he convinced 6 other sailors to jump in and row him over.
Yes.
I said, that was an unbelievable maneuver.
Where is that painting at? Isn't that in Congress, or the painting of Perry's switching command?
There's a number of those.
Are there really?
Paintings. Yeah, and I'm not really educated on the
I wanted to
different
say that somewhere in D.C.,
but
that
I
one
think
lives.
you're right. I think you're right.
I mean, again, famous. And it brings up another point, as we're talking about the battle. We can't forget how many African Americans were deployed in Perry's fleet.
Well, one of the problems Perry faced, that he was undermanned. He didn't have enough men to crew all of his ships. And Chauncey, who was his commander, who was up in Lake Ontario, kept promising him more men, and they were never forthcoming. And then he ended up getting numerous African-American sailors or crew, or he drafted the militia from Meade's militia out of Meadville, and these guys weren't sailors, but he put them on the ships. So again, I think that lends some credence to his leadership ability, to be able to take an untrained crew, put them together. And that was one of the things that I've read where he stressed prior to the battle, is they did a lot of gunnery exercises.
Oh, they did. Wow.
So, I mean, he showed great leadership in being able to pull a crew together, because that was one of the questions I asked Craig Simmons when I talked to him. I said, I want you to talk about him and his leadership. Was he a Captain Ahab? Or was he, a little more lenient but commonsensical?
Right.
So again, every talk, we want them to humanize Perry, but we also want them to talk a little bit about leadership. It's not strictly a tactics and strategy type of lecture.
Right. Do you get a sense of his relationship with his second in command? Do we know much about the second in command?
Oh, yeah, that's Elliot. And
that is Elliot.
That's the next.
My understanding is they didn't like each other later in life.
Originally, when the two ships were going to be built at Black Rock, Elliot was the expected commander. And Elliot, I believe Elliot came down here and met Dobbins and told Dobbins, this is not the place to build the ships. And obviously Elliot wasn't happy when Dobbins convinced Madison that this was the place to build the ships.
Wow.
And then probably wasn't happy when Perry took command. Mm-hmm. But then when the other ships there were a couple of ships captured from the British that Elliot was a true hero early in the war. He at night they went across the Niagara River and actually captured a British ship. Tried to bring it back to the U.S. side of the river, but they didn't make it, and they ended up burning the ship. But that eliminated the threat to Black Rock. So he was looked at as a good officer, and somewhat of a hero. But when he came down, he became Perry's second in command.
Gotcha.
So he commanded the Niagara, Perry commanded the Lawrence.
Got it.
And that next talk, Chris Havern from the Naval History and Heritage Command in D.C. Chris is a historian, Coast Guard veteran, I believe, and grad degree from Penn State and the University of Maryland in history, naval history. So he does history for the Naval Heritage and History Command, which is a civilian organization, but they're governmental employees.
Interesting. What will he be talking about?
He's going to talk about Perry's relationships with Elliot and then William Henry Harrison, because post-Battle of Lake Erie, Perry goes to the western end of the lake with Harrison, and they go across the lake, and then the subsequent Battle of the Thames in Canada, where Tecumseh is killed.
Okay. I'm trying to get my my history right here. Is Harrison Tippecanoe or no?
No, that's Tyler.
No, Tippecanoe and Tyler too.
That's it.
So yeah. So Harrison ends up becoming president. But he was a war general.
Right. Gotcha. And Chris is going to talk about the rest of Perry's naval career after that.
Did the career folk? I mean, when he went back to Newport, did he have an ocean career then, or not much?
I'm not clear on that. I know he dies from I don't know if it's yellow fever down in the Caribbean. And I believe he was, I don't know if he had a command or if he was, on ship at that time. I haven't done enough reading.
Again, these guys, they died in their 40s.
Yep.
Often.
Well, and that's the other thing. When he's up here in Erie, he's what, 20?
Yeah, I was going to say, barely.
6?
Unreal.
And a couple of years ago, I went to a Surface Navy conference in D.C. And this was exactly the time when the Houthi pirates were causing all the trouble on the eastern rim of Africa.
Right.
And our Navy, our small vessels, our destroyers and frigates were taking out the Houthi pirates. And at this Navy conference, which the Secretary of the Navy spoke, the Chief of Naval Operations spoke, there were numerous young women and men who were serving on these ships. And so I'm looking at them, and you would just picture Oliver Hazard Perry.
Right.
Because they were roughly the same age.
Well, yeah, and again, you have a midshipman, graduates from Annapolis, 22 years old. Now, I don't think they would get a command, mind you, but back in the day they would.
Back in the day they would, and these kids, were getting tremendous responsibility.
Sure.
In very dangerous situations.
I'm always amazed at the military. I mean, we civilians often hold on to our power deep into our 50s, 60s, and 70s, whereas the military will give, will assign 35 troops to a 24-year-old first lieutenant or captain, right? Let's think about it, Anyway, okay, so that's number 4. Who's next?
Then we're going to have a panel discussion,
Okay.
moderated by Jeff Bloodworth from Gannon.
Nice.
And Matt Perry, Ripka, Simmons, and Havern are all going to be on the panel. And Jeff's going to talk about the overall strategy of the War of 1812, the significance of the Battle of Lake Erie, and what role did the Battle of Lake Erie play in the final American victory, or as many people say, we didn't win, we didn't lose. It was kind of a draw because we ended up in the same place where we started.
Basically.
So
they call it the Second War for Independence.
Right. And there's going to be a little comparison between Oliver Hazard Perry and Robert Barclay, who commanded the British ships on Lake Erie.
Yeah. How does Barclay come out in history? Does he seem to be timid, or
actually he's court-martialed after the battle, but I think he's exonerated.
Okay. Yeah.
And then after the panel discussion, we're going to have a non-historian speak.
Okay.
Dr. Olenda Johnson, who teaches at the Naval War College, is a leadership expert, organizational change.
Nice.
And she's going to talk about modern-day leadership perspectives from a non-historian, and she keeps stressing to me she's a non-historian. But she's going to talk about leadership perspectives, what the Navy expected then, and what the Navy expects now. And then we're going to pull in different examples of Perry's leadership abilities.
This sounds like this is going with a deep dive.
Well, it's intended to be a scholarly lecture series.
That's tremendous.
Again, education about Perry, but overall theme, let's humanize Perry, because we all know about Perry, but we all go right to the Battle of Lake Erie, and he's much more than that.
So finally, Douglas Brinkley.
Doug Brinkley's going to bring everything together.
Kind of the keynote?
Keynote address, and he is currently writing a book on Oliver Hazard Perry.
That's amazing.
So I need to get to Doug and say, okay, are you going to tell us about some of the new stuff you found, or But the intent is for him to pull everything together.
Wow. And this is all happening at the Yale Ballroom.
Right.
Over 2 days. So how does the schedule work?
August 13th and 14th. So the 13th we start at, is it 1
1
o'clock, and goes till 4.
Right.
And then on Friday, which is the 14th, it goes from 9 a.m. to
4:30ish.
Yeah, 4:30, and
There'll be lingerers.
Yeah, but that's okay. But then we open that day at the exhibit opens, so folks will want to come right from their, the exhibit, from the symposium to the exhibit, and
that evening
they'll get a sneak to look at it then. And then, of course, it's open. It's open that day anyways, so it's open to the public.
And that Friday, we're serving breakfast and lunch.
Oh, that's
wow.
right. Yeah, I forgot about that part.
That's still for $10?
Do you believe it?
As a wow.
Well, we have great sponsors, so that's part of it. The sponsors did a great job of, that's what supports the whole thing, and that's what really got us to do it.
Going to leave one out, but PNC is a sponsor, the Jefferson's a sponsor, the Doris Becker Lecture Series is a sponsor, and I'm probably forgetting.
I know we're forgetting somebody. Woo.
I'm forgetting one.
Okay. Well, congrats to the sponsors to making this accessible. It occurs to me that you guys you're the big purveyors of history in town. I feel like we're doing a pretty good job with America 250.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what they did 50 years ago. I was an 8th grader. I know what I did. I had to do a poster board thing, and I did a map with different photographs of things around Erie that were historical. And so I had the Customs House, and I had the old brig that used to be on the stilts, right, back in the day.
Yeah.
And in different other things. That was my 8th grade project for America 200. But here, we're really going. I think this is a great opportunity for us embracing our little part of America's semi-quincentennial.
Yeah, there's that tongue twister, huh?
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we haven't mentioned is last fall we acquired a significant collection of letters from the Perry family.
Wow.
You've gone through
just
some
really,
of them.
again, just emotional. That's I say he was a father, he was a son, he was a husband.
So these are letters from
Right.
Oliver Hazard Perry to his wife, to his family, and part of them are going to become the exhibit that we're working on right now.
And this is in addition to what has been in part of the collection at the Hagen,
Right.
which is the eyeglass, the eye spyglass,
Yes,
and the
yes.
sword.
That
and,
will be in there as well.
Yeah. Unreal. I still am always flabbergasted at Misery Bay, the winter after the battle, right? And, what was that about, right? I always wonder.
Well,
Just
the ships were, some of the ships, I don't know if all of them were stationed there, but my understanding is the sanitary conditions weren't the best.
On ship.
On ship, well then off ship, because they were using the same water to drink.
Oh, gee.
So many of them contacted, whatever disease, and when they died over the winter, I believe they dropped the bodies over the side.
Wow.
Now, I could be wrong. There's others in town that are much more noted experts on that period of time. Like people.
And was Perry gone by then? I mean, he would have shipped out.
I
would
believe
think.
he would have shipped out. But
Yeah.
again, Walter would know for sure.
Right. Are you going to bring up anything from 1913 of bringing back the Niagara, or is that for another time? Because we're focusing on Perry the man.
Yeah, we're focusing on Perry the man. The Niagara's coming back. What,
July
July
2nd, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
All geared up.
In fact, we have folks who can get into the Parade of Sails. We have something we're going to be putting up, and I think it's $45. It's only 40 boats, so it's only 40,
Oh,
and they
they're-
will come
okay.
from the peninsula over here, and then it'll be. But it was. Whether we were going to do it or not, because first of all, we had to make sure that it was going to come here, or that it was going to arrive on July 2nd. But yeah, it looks like it's all good to go.
Yeah, I didn't. I need to get an update from the museum commission because I didn't. I thought at one point they were supposed to go to Philly for Philadelphia's celebration, but it didn't sound like it was done in time to kind of be gallivanting all over the place.
Yeah, the sails will not be up.
Yeah.
It's my understanding.
Yeah,
So it'll be, but it's still the Niagara, and it's gonna be here.
100%. We miss her so much. Before I let you guys go, last year, off the charts celebration in Girard with the sunflowers.
Oh yes.
Okay, so first off, how's the booze coming?
It's funny. That's the question
Everybody's asking you, right?
As far as I know, it's still on track.
How long does it take to?
Well, it's and I don't even know what the schedule is because it's got to be PLCB approved,
Right,
and then
right,
so the last we heard, that's where we are, and
Gotcha.
there's nothing that you can rush there. That just has to happen. And then this year, the sunflowers will of course be back. It's going to be a little bit different because the sunflowers, we have to have the crop rotation, so there will be sunflowers, grass,
Okay.
which is really nice and
be
really
able to
nice
walk
experience.
through them.
Yeah, because last year everybody said, "Can we walk through?" And I'm thinking, I don't know if you really want to walk through there. I mean, there's, that's plus, you're gonna get hurt or it's gonna hurt the flowers. So this year it will be much easier for people to just go through.
You had to been impressed at how this community kind of went nuts.
Oh, it
over
was
the sunflowers.
We estimated based on the cars that were there that 20,000 people
Incredible.
visited. And the folks from Girard would tell you the same thing. You live in Girard.
Yeah.
It was the traffic was definitely a little bit crazy. And it was from, I mean, actually months. People even came, you know, I think in October, people were saying,
really?
"Oh, can we still take photos?" And I mean, you can take all the photos you want,
Yeah.
but they're not
Kinda
You know,
wilted.
the blooms are pretty much gone. But you know, the people liked that. There were people who were like, you know, they don't care. It was really just a neat experience.
And quickly talk about this Memory, Hopes, and Dreams as part of America
That's coming up.
250.
That's America 250. People will be, they'll just need to use our QR code. We're going to be starting that soon. Just click on the QR code and it'll bring up, you'll be able to do a little video, talk about memories, hopes, and dreams. There's specific questions on there. And, you know, just, you know, if we asked you what's your greatest memory of being a part of Erie, and we expect that we're going to get all, so we'll have that going up. And then we have our gala, which is 250 related. We are honoring, I think it's 10 people who were from Erie and went on to do great things. And there's admirals in there, there's ambassadors in there, there's journalists in there. We even have Native American. So we've got that. We've got everything that's going on in Girard. We've got Art Week a week from today, or I'm sorry, Art Walk.
Yes.
Will be a week from today. So we've got event. Oh, and we have Men's Night coming up. Men's
That's
Night at
right.
the Museum, June 10th. Women will be out at the Yellow House in August. That'll be August 4th. And again, the gala, that'll be September 12th.
Beautiful.
So I don't think that's everything, but
we got I'm out of time. I always love talking history with you guys. Mark Squeglia, Pam Parker from the Hagen History Center here on Talk Erie. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Joel.
thanks.
All righty, 2 minutes in front of 5 o'clock. Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. We are going to get to our coverage of the Trust Hotel groundbreaking earlier today with Governor Josh Shapiro here in town. And so you're going to want to listen for that. Stay with us. It's Talk Erie.